thank you for asking the question. Just being curious enough to say, like, I don't know anything about you except what you told me about yourself or what others have told me. And so being in relationship with you is doing something for me. There's more learning to be had.
Hi, I'm Topaz Adizes, and I'm the founder of the Emmy Award-winning series, The And. The And has been an incredible journey for the past 12 years. We've brought in over 1,250 pairs to have incredible conversations. Through this work, I've had the privilege of witnessing the bold and the beautiful and the heart-wrenching, the conversations that reveal us. And what I've learned through these incredible experiences is that life shapes us. Now I'm ready to share these learnings and reflections here with you to dive deeper. We're going to be speaking to people I find incredible. I'm going to be asking them questions that reveal their life's journey. Susan Asiyanbi is an executive leader, strategist, and self-described trained extrovert who's dedicated her career to the critical intersection of leadership, organizational culture, and human relationships. Currently the founder of Valori Network, she previously served as a top executive at Teach for America, a graduate of Williams College and Northwestern University's Kellogg School of Management. Deeply influenced by her parents' immigrant journey from Nigeria, she carries a legacy of service, humility, and the resilient belief that every day offers a chance to try again. What would happen if we prioritize relationship intelligence as much as we do artificial innovation? I believe that life shapes us, or we shape with life. It's a conjunction. It's a kind of a additive effect. If we look at the patterns in our life and the things that come up, I feel like gifts are shaped. There's a quote that I love by a man named David S. Viscott who said that the purpose of life is to find your gift, and the work of life is to develop your gift, and the meaning of life is to give it away. So kind of we'll go in that structure, just kind of just riff and go wherever we go. And
that's cool. All right. Go with you.
So I guess I'll start here, if that's okay, is just check in on you. Like, I know you've been on leave. I know your father, who meant a lot to you, is transformed, transition, passed. How you doing?
Yeah. Oh, it's such a difficult question to ask. People say, "How are you doing?" I'm like, it depends on what moment you ask me, right? Today, the sun is out in Chicago, and there's something, as I shared it with you, about sun and warmth that just brings light. And so, I feel light. I feel my dad's legacy all over me. And I try to live in a way where I know that all the values that he and my mom instilled in me and my siblings, it's like every day, it's like I get a chance to try again. And so I feel like I'm coming in with some good energy.
When you say that his legacy, you feel it, what does his legacy feel like? And then what is it? What does it feel like?
My dad was a person who led through relationships and led with a lot of service and humanity. So it was, what do other people need? How can I be helpful to them? Even if I don't have much, I have more than someone else. And so he just had a way of framing things in a way that I always felt like, always thinking about, like, what can be learned from this situation and what do we have to offer? And I'm not surprised that the way in which I lead, the work that I do, the rituals we have in our household are all about what do we have to learn today and how can we frame every situation for gratitude, for seeing it in a different way than perhaps where the energy might take us, that we get to choose. And so I'm in the gift of the agency to choose the direction and how I'm going to live and lead. And I think he was very much into that as a person who came in as an immigrant and, with humble beginnings.
Are you the youngest of three? Your two older brothers and then you?
Youngest of four. So it's four of us, and I'm the youngest and the only girl.
You're the only girl. So your dad came first he came alone, right? Without your mother and without your two brothers at the time.
That's correct. He was setting up, getting acclimated before my mom and siblings, my two older brothers who were children and small then, came.
And then you and the third oldest were born in the States?
We were born yes, that's right.
Like, you talk about framing things differently, around gratitude, and even how can I offer, or how can I give, how can I support even in this moment? how can I take this moment as a learning lesson? That's what I'm hearing from you. When was the first time you realized, oh, my dad is doing that? Like, he's not just saying it, he just did it.
There was this moment, and I saw it again during his funeral, but I think it would have been I was like middle school-esque, like maybe around 10 or 11. We were children. So we complained about all the things we didn't have, all the things we saw our friends have that we wanted, all the places we wish we lived, and why couldn't we move to this other area of town? And our dad consistently would talk about you have a home to live in. You have people who love you. Like that is the greatest gift. We have our own form of joy. It's like how we treat each other and all the things. Like, yeah, Dad. He would talk about, people give out trinkets and things like that. And you're like, oh gosh, you're such a hoarder. Like, why do you collect these things? We go on trips and go to hotels. He's like, any of those things that they give you as free packs, take it. Don't throw it away. Like people throw way too much stuff away. Like people could benefit from it. It was very annoying. And it wasn't until I went to visit the hometown of Nigeria where people like off the street, they would call him Baba, which is word for dad. I'm like, why is everybody calling you dad? Like, it's weird. And he's like, first, it's cultural. And second of all, they would tell stories around your dad didn't have a lot, but he came with this little package of soap and toothpaste and toothbrush because he knew that, like, right, we just had a kid, we're struggling, and he put it in our hand, and he doesn't even know like what that did for us. Or for the holidays, we didn't have anything to give to the people in the community, and so he had all these little trinkets that we were able to give out just so people had something to open. And it was in that moment where it's like, these things that I was like, so like, what are we doing here? And why are we doing this? And why are we hoarding? And who wants these things? All of a sudden, I saw my dad's perspective of what can we give to others? And we always have something to give, even when we feel like we have very little. What can we learn from others? And it was that moment where he would talk about love was the gift that we had, that we may not have had things growing up, but we had family, we had safety, we had the love of each other that I saw like, wow, like you're talking about a community who like supports each other, who loves each other. That's a different type of gift. And so it's like, I feel like that was the first moment where it sort of clicked to me. I was like, okay, I don't know if I quite get it, but it's a much bigger reality than the one I had assumed, where it's like this frame of, we don't have a lot. I want more. I want this. I want that. Why are you making us collect and save these things? You start to see the value that they have for other people. And it's not actually even the things, it's the sentiment of what it meant to have been thought of, the sentiment of what it meant to be in community with someone else and to put someone else before yourself.
What are the rituals that you had in your household, and what are the ones that you have in your household now?
Yeah, I'll talk about the ones we have in our household, and I'll tell you where they came from. So we have this thing that we do anytime, my husband, myself, and my daughter, she's 7. And when we come together at dinner, it's like, that's our place. If everyone's home and no one's traveling, we're together around a table, we're having dinner, we're in conversation at dinner. And oftentimes we go around and everyone gets to ask the rest of the family a question. You get to choose any question. So, for example, for my daughter, we can tell if she's in the mood and she's like, I'm tired of school, I'm ready for vacation. She'll say like, let's dream up, what's the place we want to go to? If you can envision what that looked like that might be our question. We all have to answer it. But there are 2 questions that we all must answer every night, which is what's our highlight of the day and what's our learning that we are going to try to apply again the next day. And I think that has come from, without me quite knowing it, the highlight piece is the frame of no matter what the day felt like, there is always something that is a highlight that we can have perspective no matter how big or small it is. And then a learning piece, again, to the part that my dad's like, there's always something to be learned from other people, from your environment, for your surroundings. You got to look for it. And it's a practice of having an orientation towards learning. So that is a ritual that we did. And I added this year the act of gratitude. So we do what we call spontaneous surprises, where we go around, we answer that question. And once a week, we identify a person that we are grateful for. And we record an audio message to them where we say what about them, what they've done, their lives makes us so grateful. And we just send it to them and say like, no expectation of a response. And that ritual, again, comes from this place of there's so much to be grateful for. My parents was like, how often do you just tell the person, like, thank you for helping my mom do this? Thank you for, and we're like, why? Like, if you're thankful, just tell that person you're thankful. Why do I have to thank them? It's like, you just don't know, like, the small things that can really have a huge impact, and it never fails. Every single time we send that audio to someone, they reach back out saying, I know you said I didn't need to respond, but this was the best spontaneous gift. It came in a moment where I really needed to hear this reflected back to me.
Yeah, it's funny. Whenever I get like a intuition or an instinct or like a scratch to do something, and meaning like call someone or check someone in, I don't push it aside. I feel it's like almost like the universal radar saying, take a moment, send a message, trust that inclination, that instinct. If you really appreciate them, or you're moved by them, or you have a memory of them, why not send that off into the
and
sphere?
We can underestimate the power of relationships and community and how much they can do for us.
I think especially in American culture. I mean, I live in the States, grown, raised States, but I've been outside for the last 7 years. I was in Mexico for 6, and now here in Uruguay for 1.5 years. And I really am seeing a different sense of community. I mean, there's many different kinds of community, and there's many different kinds of populations, but especially in Mexico, where the familiar unit is very strong, the communal unit is very strong, and then here in Uruguay and South America, I am noticing a difference in the strength of community, and I do sense, especially in the last few weeks of experiences I've had when I do go to the States for certain events, the desire, the need for real community.
Yes. Yes. And I mean, and how community can be healing in its own way. And I will tell you, it hasn't been a value of mine. Like earlier on,
really,
even though that existed in my family, like I consider myself an introvert and a trained extrovert. Where it's like, I prefer to be by myself. I sit with my thoughts in my head. I'm fairly private, not because I don't want to share with people, but just because I do a lot of conversations with myself. I find a lot of joy and happiness with being with self. And as a result of such, it's not that I don't value relationships. I actually do get energy out of them, but they play a different role than I find that they play for most people. And it has been as I've gotten older and I understand the place that solitude and reflection has, and the place that relationships can have in terms of mirroring back to you, helping you learn, helping you be one amongst others, helping you understand multiple perspectives, shaping perspective. I have become greater awareness.
Like, when did that change for you? Because it seems like your father was steeped in that idea. And so,
I mean, I would say a couple different things. One is, ironically, the work that I do is all about relationships. And relationships in the context of work, and how relationships can really, people learning how to integrate and negotiate and innovate together can actually advance results faster if we take that into account. And yet in my personal life, it's not what I was pulling on. It's not what I was getting energy from. And I honestly think as I started to raise my daughter, as I started to see wow, I don't have as much time left, and I'm losing people. I'm losing people because as we get older, tragedy is happening. As we get older, we're forced to contend with, what does friendship mean to us, and who should be in our circle and who shouldn't, and who grows with us and who is in a season. And sometimes the joy and pain of having to come to that realization that, wow, who I was before, the people I had with me are not with me now for whatever reason. I haven't always been the best friend and in a relationship with people and showed up for people when they needed me to. So I think it's been that, probably more pain of, I'm losing people that I love. I've lost people that I've loved based off my own doing of not nurturing the relationship. And when I am in a relationship, I feel so much better.
when I look at your work, I'm like, she's building community in a beautiful way, and she's acknowledging conflict. And it's, you have one thing about alignment being not that we're all in agreement, but that we're moving together even though we might disagree. So I feel like your work is all about, really building community. However, so I really appreciate you saying that you didn't pull from that in your personal life. I just want to acknowledge you for being honest about that, because
thank you.
What I find is the thing we offer most and that we may be best at is the thing we desire most.
Yes.
For me, it's about intimacy and connection. Why? Because me as growing up as a kid, I didn't have it. And so in some sense I'm looking for it. So I just want to acknowledge that, being honest about that. And then you talking about friends. I mean, my God, everything you just said could be a description of my last 2 years.
Say more.
First, I'm out of sight, out of mind. I'm understanding that. I grew up, spent 18 years of my adult life in New York. I'm not there anymore. I'm very good at staying in touch over the long term with check-ins. I'm very good at showing up for certain friends. And then there's other friends that I didn't show up for. I couldn't show up for. Or could I, but I didn't want to. What happened there? Last year I had 4 friends diagnosed with cancer. 2 passed. 2 passed within the year. One, a very good friend, was diagnosed on his birthday on March 24th and passed on Thanksgiving next week. It's a 1-year anniversary. One friend I didn't show up on the level of that I set for myself in terms of friendship. The other one I did my best, and I feel I did. 2 other recovered. The other, I have a 5th friend who has ALS, who's just seeing his transformation and how he's confronting and how he's framing the challenge he has. And like you said, we get older and we have kids, especially young kids. You have less time. So where are you investing the time you have? When you're on the drive home and you have 20 minutes, who are you going to call? Who's the first one? Who's the second? And then you get one of them, you're going to talk to them for 10, that's it. You might not have another 15, 20 minutes until 3 days later. Who are you going to call? Who are you going to invest your attention to? And there's one reason I love the fact that we do die in life. We don't have forever, because we have to choose, what am I doing with my time? What am I doing with my attention? What am I doing with my energy?
Yes. I mean, it's a representation of what you value is what you're going to prioritize. And it's also why I think this piece around learning that my dad and my mom have still instilled with us, you get to try again. It's we're perfectly imperfect, as I say.
What do you mean? Tell me about that. What do you mean you get to try again? Tell me again. Tell me that.
There was just this ethos in our household where it's we're going to try to be the best version of ourselves all the time. And sometimes we're going to live up to that, and other times we're not. And we're not bad people for that. But we get to choose. We get to try again. And we get to try again. And to me, that was just the spirit of every day I get to learn something about myself, about the world, about other people. Today was not a good day. It wasn't a great day. My energy, right? And tomorrow I get to try to see if that might look different. As I've, become an adult, it's become complicated. People are how was your day? I was which part of it? The morning felt like this, afternoon felt like this, the afternoon after lunch felt like this. And I can see the beauty of all the pieces of the rainbow, even in a moment. And so this piece of slowing down enough to be kind enough to myself to say, I learned something from those relationships where I didn't show up for people. And sometimes I learned that they weren't the relationships I should have been in, the friendships I should have been in. Sometimes I learned that they were friendships that I really cherished, and I didn't do my part. And I can't go back and fix it, but I can do differently for those who are still in my space and in my life.
2 things that have dropped in for me in terms of the friendships, and that is, one is that, Topaz, just be honest with yourself. Just be honest. If you're not showing up for a friend in the way that the standard that I have, why is that? Let's be honest. Let's not just call a friend. Maybe we need to decipher more levels of friendship, or because some friends I will fly across the country, across the world for 2 days and fly back. I mean, I do that. So one is just, be honest about how I'm showing up, and just get rid of the clutter, the conceits of oh, I'm a great friend. Actually, no, let's be honest. Maybe sometimes I'm not a great friend. And that just dealing with that enables me to deal with what is and actually then decide, okay, am I going to invest in that or am I going to put that aside and accept that? And the other thing I learned is that I thought it used to be like, oh, I do this for someone and then they're going to come in time of my need.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's how it works. I think it's like you show up for someone when they need it. And when you need someone, someone else might show up. Like and in that sense, it's even more like a community, right? It's not like it's not just a dyad relationship. It's a communal relationship. And what goes around comes around, like in the sense of if you can help someone, you go help them. And then when you needed help, you're not expecting that person to help because maybe they don't know, maybe they can't, but someone else will show up.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. And to that point, one of the things that we talk a lot about with our child is I show up for you because that's what's in my heart to do and I expect nothing in return.
Yeah.
Period. And so that also equally means in that moment where I need someone to show up for me, maybe they will, maybe someone else will, maybe they won't.
Yeah.
But I'm not revisiting the past of all the things I've done. I did those things and there was a period after it because it came from my soul or a set of values that I had.
Yeah.
And the importance of being able to release and let that go and say, I did it because it was in me to do and it was in me to give. It was in me to lead this way. And period. And that is just it. And that there's beauty in that.
I think I got to work on that, to be honest. Also, there's a thing about you being a hero when you do so much for a friend, which is not good. It's like, am I doing it because I'm a hero? It's because it's in my heart. Is it doing, and then do I expect something back? Then it becomes a quid pro quo. And that's a transactional relationship. And I have to check myself on that. And what am I expecting? And then, next year is my 50th birthday. And I'm thinking, what do I do? Who do I invite? And I am a communal person. But then at the same time, what are my expectations and why do I have that? And I should not have those and let those go. It's like a check-in. It's a reflection of, am I giving completely or am I giving in exchange? And if you give in exchange, it's not giving completely and it's felt and it creates a different kind of energy, no?
Yeah, it does. It does. And it doesn't, we're human beings. So as I always say, it's okay to desire certain things. Sometimes, at least for myself, I don't know. It's only more recently where I've made my needs known.
How long?
I would say maybe in the last 2-3 years. It's very bizarre to say that. And a lot of it is just because I've come from figuring it out, doing it myself, feeling like people should know. To the point of being able to give and just give, period. It came from being in moments where it's well, I did all these sets of things. Why isn't anyone A, B, C, D things? And this an assumption that has come from that where someone one day asked me, well, did you tell them that you needed that?
Yeah.
Well, no. They should know.
They should know.
How would they? If they know me, they should know. And it's well, how would they know? Because you don't share. You're so private.
Yeah.
How would they know that that's what was going on for you? And so, again, this is the piece of exposing yourself enough to share and give freely and know that you may or may not get anything in return, but it's okay to ask. Yeah. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to state my needs. And I have to be prepared to state them and not receive what I'm asking for in return.
Yeah, what comes up for me when you say that, which is that it's not exactly right, but asking is also a form of giving. Yeah. Because you're putting yourself vulnerable in the request of assistance.
Yes.
Right? And we don't all do that. And that is a form of opening up a vulnerability, is asking.
Absolutely. And I can't tell you the number of friends who've actually even said to me, the mere thing that the fact that you asked was actually helpful to me because I didn't know how to help.
Yeah.
And every time I kept saying, how can I help? You said I don't know, I'll get back to you. And then you never did because you didn't know, right? But the minute that you can give me something, it felt like I could give a gift back in return. And I think those are the moments I start to realize wow, I've had this all wrong this whole time. I wasn't giving the gift of helping people know how to hold me, how to help me, how to support me, how to love me.
It's uncomfortable, especially in a world where we're built to strive independently, especially in American culture. It's what do you do? It's individualism, and there's a lot of beautiful benefits to that. But the flip side too is wait, I owe this person now? Or like they did this for, like, I don't want to accept their gift because that means I owe them, and then forget, I cut that tie. Swimming in different waters, being in South America for now 8 years, in Latin America and Mexico, I do start to realize more of the waters I swam in the States. And I then start thinking about, what are the waters I'm swimming in here? What are the things what are the behaviors that we take for granted or that we do here that like start positioning me in a certain way? That basically is like experience design, which is also your work, right? It's like you had a post about, hey, when you have a meeting, like give it movement, go on a walk. Walking, there's something about eye contact, but there's also about moving together, not eye contact, just moving together. So there are things in our culture and our physiology that shift the possibilities that are reframes in themselves.
Yes, absolutely. I just love that you say that, because it goes back to, this is why learning is such a core value of mine.
Tell me.
Like people always say, like, what do you care deeply about? And I think oftentimes they expect me to like list all the things that I've attained, and I'm like, nope, learning. Like the pure act of learning to me means I'm still living. And I'm still living. I get to try again. If I get to try again, means I got something to learn. And if I got something to learn, I can see differently, be better, like take risk in ways that perhaps I hadn't given myself credit for. I can offer something to someone because I learned it. Like I literally can gift you something that has been helpful to me that may perhaps in a different way be useful to you. And so when I hear you talking about like the behaviors, I'm like, I think that's why the value of learning in and of itself, I just really believe like it can be transformative in its own way, but it's a practice. Like people always say, like, yeah, I'm always learning. It's like, yeah, it's the practice of slowing down enough to really say, what have I learned and what's the analysis of that learning and what does that mean about me? What does it mean about us? It's a different type of learning I'm talking about.
Yeah. It sounds like a self-reflective learning. It sounds like deciphering your own code of yourself and your behavior to decide what do you want to change or keep.
Absolutely. I would say it's the type of learning that's individual in nature, but it's also it's a communal learning too, right? To the point that I shared, like when I, going home for my dad's funeral. And for the longest time, right, we had like, what's the plan? If, at some point we know mortality is it for all of us and got to have the plan for what happens if dad, goes first or mom goes first. And we have like all these strategies and they were just always so like calm about it. And so,
your parents,
yeah, exactly. Like they're in denial. Right? And then you go there and they'd be like, no, like the community takes care of the community. The community checks on the community. And it's just go there and see, literally, it's like, do you even know who these people are? Like they're just coming up.
When you said home, where's home? Where did you go?
Home, Nigeria. So
you went
where my parents are from, and we went back for my dad's funeral, and just the way in which community checks in on community. And it's like, oh, and my mom's like, yeah, these are the people who come on. So I was like, who are these people who are ringing the doorbell? It's like, oh, are they your neighbors? No. Where did they come from? I think maybe 2 or 3 towns over. It's like, and oh yeah, they saw me in the grocery store and they were asking, where's Baba? And it's like, oh, he's sick today. I'm coming to grab groceries. I'm going to take the bus and then walk home. And since then they've been like, we'll drop the groceries off, or we're stopping by to, see you and to see him. And I was like, this is amazing. Right? Like my first natural is just like literally my first natural. Yeah. Who are they? What do they want? Is it safe?
Yeah.
Right? And their first natural reaction is this is what you do. This is how you take care of each other. This is how you take care of elderly, is that we show up in their most vulnerable time. We support each other. And by the way, for them, we're thinking, oh, there must be it must feel like such a burden. And it's the opposite. It's like, we get to sit here while you tell your stories. And like that story is like you're sharing the legacy of family and all the things you've come to learn. Like what a gift for us to sit at your feet where you get to reflect on like your youth and your like things that you would hope to if you could go back and play it all over again, that you'd want to share back. Again, the spirit of community, the spirit of relationships, the spirit of what are the narratives that we share with one another? Mm-hmm. How do we gift each other the learnings and the insights? Not because people need to do what you say, but because there's transformation in what people might pull from it.
Oh my God. I mean, that rings so true for me. It's like, for me, what I'm hearing when you say that, and like being at the foot and hearing the story and your reflection, is like, it's a soul sharing its life experiences of what do we experience in this physical realm with each other, and what do we learn? And maybe I can't experience it myself, but I can learn from your experience. That's called wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
And if we just slow down enough and create the space, and maybe like acknowledge the importance of the act, that it's important enough to sit and just have a conversation and allow ourselves to have our mutual individual experiences, that we can find commonality, find differences, and just have that conversation and speak. I mean, I know my grandfather used to do it in the park all the time. And when I would talk on the phone, he would flick me on the ear and go, "What are you doing? You're not supposed to be talking on the phone. You talk on the phone to arrange a time to talk in the park, and take the time to sit in the park and talk."
Yeah, absolutely. And to the point that you shared, one of the things, we asked our parents lots of questions around, if you could go back and do it all over again, what do you wish for us now knowing? And it's like all the things like all the things you stress about now will mean nothing. If you're stressed about it, ask whether it will still matter 5 years from now. Are you creating enough spaciousness, right? Because in order to do what you just talked about, go deep, be in relationship, you can't be running from thing to thing. I got to drop this. I have this work meeting. I only have 30 minutes for this work meeting. So please don't go deep and ask me a lot of questions about this product.
Totally.
Because I got somewhere else to be in 30. Like, you have to have the spaciousness to let flow and be able to ask more questions and to go deep and to they talk about the difference between hearing and listening. Like, it's like, I heard you, but like, did I go deep enough to say, like, when I heard that, this is what it made me think, or this is what I heard from you. Is that what you intended? So it's actually a skill to listen and learn. And we really take that capability for granted.
Definitely. There's a lot of, Well, tell me, I really appreciate the humility of you saying, 2-3 years ago, you only started learning to say what you needed. And you said, when did you start learning more about deepening your sense of community? Was that even more recent, or is that around the same time, or?
I think as my parents have aged and I have had to slow down to recognize, like, oh, I think I've just been taken for granted that you'll always be here, and you're slowing down. You have more aches. You're talking to me much more regularly around not being here. Like, you're just very free with I'm not going to be here. And when I'm not, I hope this for you. And it's like, wait, why are we talking about that? Like, and for them, it's like, no, I'm at peace. Like, I remember the number of times my dad was at, like, I know someday this will happen. I'm at peace, and I need you to know I'm at peace. And so I think the more time as it started to become clear to me, like, oh, I don't know when, but, all like the way I saw my parents, strong, juggling everything, available to tackle anything, can help me out here. They were not able to show up in those same types of ways. It drew me closer to slowing down enough to make sure I don't miss this moment, sitting down and saying, like, yep, like, where I'm used to being like, okay, dad or mom, we're going to like go to the mall. We're going to take a walk. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. It's like, nope, dad just wants to sit on the couch today. So we're sitting on the couch and talking. And in talking, we're holding hands together. And there's warmth in that. And that feels lovely. And we're just talking and talking about things that feel meaningless, talking about things that feel meaningful. Sitting in silence, even watching a show together and laughing. And it's like, wow, like, it's all these moments that I think force me to slow down a little bit and like, okay, like, I can't calendar my relationships. And I had gotten really good at calendaring on dinner with you, right? You'll do a walk and talk with you. And it doesn't mean I still don't do those things as a function of efficiency. But I think I'm coming into greater appreciation that there's a lot of limits to how far that's going to get me if I'm really serious about creating spaciousness to go deep. And I like to, by the way, calendar my way into things because it makes me feel like I got a strategy, I got a plan, and that plan is going to lead me to, except that I realize like it didn't lead me to the types of relationships that are long-standing.
Yeah.
That I yearn for, that I didn't realize I was yearning for because I enjoy solitude a lot and like I live a lot in my head.
Thank you for sharing all that. I feel a lot of things when you were sharing that, particularly a great sense of emotion, sadness, just because it's like it's not sadness, it's gratitude for those beautiful moments that are like meaningless and yet so meaningful, and so meaningful yet so meaningless, like of just the fullness of just a moment. And I was there when you were sitting there with your dad just watching a TV show, and you're laughing at a mutual joke, and like you're holding hands, and yeah, it's just you never know which are the deep relationships that will come through, and you also maybe we don't also know which are the memories that we will go back to, those moments, like maybe because my parents haven't passed yet. They're still living. God bless. My dad's 88. He just had his 88th birthday here.
What a
My mom's turning 80 now in December. And, there's not that much time. And yet I'm thinking, okay, which are the memories I'll remember? Is this a memory that's happening now that will be one of those that I remember? And I'm not sure that which are the ones that pop up. Do you? I mean,
I know which memories I have now that I'm on the other side of it.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Right. I can see it. But when I was in the moment, no, I'm trying to learn to live in the moment because I am a planner. I'm a strategist. I'm looking for it around the bend. What's to learn and how do I plan for that thing so that I can learn from the lessons? And again, those have its place. And I'm also realizing how much I'm living for today. And so today, the most important thing as I can do is turn this one thing off and be completely 100% engaged, even though there's no goal, there's no destination. Literally, the goal is just to be, and to let that be what it like whatever comes of that was success. So it's just a really different way of reframing importance in life and putting things in its place.
We're in that age where we're both raising the new souls and preparing the departure of the ones that raised us.
Mm-hmm.
And that I think makes us, or at least in this conversation, it illuminates for me, like dropping in, I'm realizing that maybe that's why I'm particularly aware of community and friendship, because I can't do it. I can't support the passing of my parents alone, and I can't raise my children alone.
Yes. The whole village.
The whole village. Really living that.
Living the whole village. And also expanding the frame of what it means to be in a village, who can be in your village, confronting that truth, knowing that you can't do it alone and that is actually strength. The power of a collective is the strength, not the power of the individual.
How are you learning that? What's the experience you've had that allows people in and those that you allowed out? How have you deciphered what is the values and the behavior that you allow in and out?
Peace and learning. Literally, I have this thing at work and also at home where, my husband always laughs at me. He's like, I can always tell. And I'm like, I need no drama. I seek for peace and joy. And so the things I'm going to let in, I get to actively choose what I have in my space. And that sometimes means I have to confront what people think I should have around me, the lessons I have learned about what success means and who should be around me because of that. And instead simply be okay saying, I need people who have shared values with and who bring me a sense of peace. There's not a lot of extra stuff. We are just being. And then learning is the other one. I can learn alongside them, and that is seen as a gift and not something to be weaponized.
Well, thank you for that. Let me ask you this question that I've been wondering about that I think fits in here. Have you ever had an experience where you're like, we got to talk about this and it's uncomfortable?
Mm-hmm.
And it might be uncomfortable, and it's not a projection on you, but it's a projection on our relationship and how you're being in a relationship, how I'm being in a relationship. What is the status of our relationship? And and some people go, no, that's not peace, dude. You're leaning into an uncomfortable conversation. You want to have why do we have to have a real talk? Can't we just pretend that everything is fine and just let bygones be bygones? We're just going to play the role And the elephants in the room and the whole zoo that's walking around here, we're not going to talk about because it leads to discomfort, it leads to noise, it leads to not peace. Where do you decipher for you when you're like, no, this is not peace, or no, this is uncomfortable conversation that even if we don't come to agreement, it's healthy? Like, how do you navigate that?
I'm constantly thinking at work and at home about what's the frame I'm using. So even the frame you just used, right? It's like, there's elephant in a room. It's uncomfortable. It's not going to be peaceful. That's not exactly the frame I would use. The frame I would use is, there's something we got to talk about. And I'm sure whatever we're going to talk about is, it comes with stuff for both of us. That means we probably got something to learn. And if we can approach the conversation from the standpoint of, we've probably all contributed, we've probably all don't know what we don't see, and we all have something to learn from it, it lowers the stakes, because these conversations, they start to feel bigger than themselves. You start to be in a position of having to defend yourself. And once you're in that space, there is no learning. It feels uncomfortable. But once we can transition it to like, something happened and it didn't serve either one of us, and it is an elephant, what's to learn from that, which is not about what you or I did wrong, but it just is.
Have you ever been in a position where someone doesn't want to have that convo? Or they say, yeah, the elephant is you. You're a prick. And I'm calm as the sea. You're just acting up.
Yes.
So have you had that experience? And like, what do you do with that?
I have had that experience, and I have two different types of reactions to it. So I had that experience where I often tell people, if you want to diffuse, you start first with yourself and what your contribution is. And when I get that type of reaction, I will receive it and say something like, I appreciate you sharing that. Let me tell you what I see that I did in this situation. Because all of a sudden, it's like, I take what you have and I'll add one for you. And I'll tell you what I learned from it. And I'll tell you what I wish I would have done differently. And immediately it changes the dynamics. So the person's like, I appreciate you saying that. I guess I too, X, Y, and Z things. And so I've had situations like that where it's like just the move of disrupting. And instead of being like, well, it's me, no, it's you. And let me tell you, changes the dynamics and again, creates vulnerability where it's like, well, let me tell you really what was going on. You caught me in the moment, X, Y, and Z. I do have situations. So I have been in situations where even when I've done that, it's like, okay, great. Finally, you're taking ownership. And I'm like, okay, so you have nothing to learn. You have not contributed. Like, it's like, okay, I can see this is not going into a place of mutuality. And sometimes it doesn't lead to that. But if I see a pattern of behavior where that's the case, those are usually the times where it's like, okay, there's boundaries to be created in terms of how much I can have you in my space for my own energy. And again, you're not wrong for the way in which you're defining friendship, etc. It's just not the version that I'm defining in terms of my values. And we both deserve to live in peace. And not everybody's meant to be in each other's circles, but we can still respect each other and live lives fully in our own ways. And that's hard. It's hard to come.
Oh my God.
It's hard to be like, yep, I got to be okay with the fact that we're not meant to be in this next season.
What I'm hearing there is earlier when we were talking about in friendship, like sometimes you want to do things wholeheartedly and give without reciprocity. Like you're not expecting back. But sometimes in friendship, there is a give and take. There is a take and a give.
Yeah.
And when you feel like it's one way for too long, then I feel like the orbits need to separate. And I just call them orbits. I kind of feel like we're all planets. And some orbits, like Earth, and the sun, it's, every 365 days, it's an orbit. But others, it's 20 years, and sometimes our friendships we call them seasons, but they're also, maybe you see this friend and you check in every 6 months. And sometimes you get really intense because you're both going through something. The orbits have brought you close and then separate, and then you're in another orbit and so I kind of see it as orbits, and I very much try not to cut off an orbit unless it's because you never know.
Yeah. I am learning to come into understanding that sometimes I cannot meet people's needs.
Tell me about that. Please.
So when you talk about like this whole, like, it's a give and take it. If you feel like the person is constantly giving, or like taking, you're just like, okay, our orbits may need to like separate for a little bit. And sometimes you're the person who's taking, because you're in a space in your life where it's like on all fronts, you need. And sometimes other people might be in that space. And again, it may just be times where it's like, you have a need. That need is a lot. I have to be okay with the fact that I can no longer meet that need for you. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't still have that need and that request for help. It's just that, like, I'm not the one who's going to be able to meet that need. And it doesn't say anything poorly about me, except that I need to communicate that and be okay with that, that your reaction to that might be totally understandable. Your reaction to that might be anger. Like, how dare you not meet my need when I've met all your needs? But that what I can do is be honest with myself about who I am, what my values, our intentions are at any given moment in time, and what I can do. And I gotta come to terms with the fact that sometimes that means I'm gonna let people down.
Yeah.
And that's, again, it's like really, really hard. But I have people in my life where it's like, yeah, I can't meet that need. I can't, I don't want to. I don't have the spaciousness to. I'm not in a season in my own life where I can. I'm still a work in progress.
So have you come to terms with that? Like if I go there, I'm like, okay, I realize that, then a part of me feels guilty. Like, I can't meet your need. And I have to tell you that. But so how do you deal with the guilt? Or like, has that been part of your process of realizing that I can't meet need and I'm complete with that? And how did you get there? Like, what happened that you got there?
I would say being complete with something doesn't mean being resolved with it, to me.
Ooh, tell me about that distinction.
So being complete with it means I've made a decision I think is best for the situation and for me. I may have a feeling about it, whether it be I let you down, I feel guilty about it, I feel entitled around, like, how dare you keep asking me? So, like, I should be okay with the fact that I have to say this and put my foot down.
But wait, does that mean you're complete but not resolved? Or like, where does resolve come in, and where does...
Yeah. Resolve comes... To me, when I'm resolved, I can wash my hands of it and I'm not thinking about it anymore. Life is still moving and I'm going to move with it.
Okay, so let me play back what I'm hearing, because I think it's a nice distinction. I'm hearing, like, I could be complete, but still it comes up. Maybe it still, like, triggers me because I'm not fully resolved. I still have things to learn there and to, like, face, but I'm complete about what needs to happen. I might still have misgivings about it. I might still have doubts, shame, which I can work on to get to resolution, to get to resolve.
Yes.
I see.
Yes.
Wow. Well, that's a helpful distinction.
Yeah. I mean, it's helped me mostly because sometimes I have realized I'm not complete, which is why I keep spiraling.
Yeah. Or your friends tell you, your friends tell you, like, if you're all right with it, why is your voice talking? Why are you talking faster? And why do you keep
bringing this thing up over and over and over?
Why are you still holding on to it?
Yes.
There's many things that I might be complete on, but not be resolved on.
Yes. 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 And being complete about not being resolved. Seriously. It's like, I gotta be complete, right? About...
Oh my God, that helps.
It just means, like, my work with myself on this is not over. Like, this is a symptom of something bigger.
What is your father's name?
John.
John? And your mom's name?
Louisa.
Louisa?
Yeah.
And how's your mom doing?
I was like, what is the right adjective? She is.
Wow.
She is. And what goes on the other side of she is mourning. She is happy that he's at peace. She is loved. She's energetic some days. She's lonely other days and missing him. She's full because she has grandkids and great grandkids and her own kids and friends and community members who surround her. And so she is she is living, and she is taking it 1 second at a time to not rush past the moment, which I'm grateful, because I think she's teaching me that. But it's like, I want the morning. I want to check the box. Morning is done. Right? We're sad. We got to get back to, like, being in the land of living. It's like, no, I'm just going to be whatever I am today, and I'm going to embrace that, and that's okay. And she is living, and that comes with all of the emotions. It's she always says like light and darkness can coexist,
Can you give me an example of when she says that? Like what happens that makes her say that?
In the early stages of my dad's passing, she would carry around the obituary with her. And she would start her day reading it. And I'd be like, oh gosh, it's going to be one, my first instinct is like, okay, let's talk about something else. Let's get our mind off of it. And she's like, no, I want my mind completely on it. We were together for 63 years. That's something so special. Why would I want to get my mind off of this? What's sad about it is about this situation is that I can't turn to him and talk to him and laugh and fight with him and do all the things. She was like, but this is all love. This is life. I want to live all the way into and then be like, but it just makes you, your demeanor, every time you open that book, you just, it's it just feels heavy and all those things. And she's like, you do, and it's in those moments, she's like, you do know that light and darkness can coexist. And it's in those moments where I'm like, yeah, it's true. There's moments where she'll look at it and she'll be smiling and she's looking at the pictures and the testimonials that people wrote. There's other times where it'll bring her to tears around really sad that, who knew that the last moment was going to be the last moment, that last moment that we said goodnight was it. And so, yeah, it's the remembering that the hard moments can have light in it. The lightness can have some darkness in it. They can coexist and you can sit in that actually it can be a healthy thing to do so, and not rush past it, which, again, this is the whole spaciousness. You got to have the spaciousness to allow your brain, your body to just be, which is why it's she is being.
What a good example. I love how you say that she's teaching you that.
I have a village of mentors and friends who've taught me lots of lessons about the world. Quite honestly, they help me see myself not in my best moments. Whenever I'm having those moments where it's okay, I'm either spiraling or I'm in a gloom cycle, I'm going to say, what's a different way to tell this same story? I'm just going to start to train my brain to be in the practice of saying what's the other side of this? And again, that's how my parents lived their life, where it's yes, the average person is going to look and be like, oh, they're poor, they're living in poverty. It's that's not how we feel. We feel full of love. We feel joyful. We feel we in our family, we have each other's backs. We play games together. We are laughing. We are spirited. We show up for one another. We have proximity. And so that's a frame. It's right, the world frames you one way and they're that's not actually how we see ourselves nor our experience. And so I think I get part of it from the soul of them. And I think that soul has been radiated in terms of the energy of the people I've had around me. Those who our orbits have left each other for whatever reason, because they helped me see myself in a way that I needed to see and maybe I couldn't understand in that time. And so even though our orbits are not connected anymore, I'm thankful.
In your speech that I watched on the YouTube link that you sent me, which I think was to Teach for America, it seemed like it was, when you were COO there, you talk about being a kid and, being affected by other kids because your mom had an accent, talked differently. Can you tell me about how you think that shaped? Because it's interesting for someone who experienced that to then still go for the son.
That way I experienced it then and how I make meaning of it now are two different things, right? As a child, how I experienced it, right? If I'm just being straight up honest, it's shame. I want, why can't we just be like everybody else? I don't want to be siloed. I don't want to be different. Why do I have to learn this other language? And if, you turn the corner years later, I'm pride, the soul of our family and what it means, right? To have that, to be able to know that my mom speaks to me, that is her first tongue and that I can engage and respond to her. And that's that's a legacy that I will always have in me that bleeds through me. An appreciation that I am thankful that even though that's perhaps the way in which I treated my parents because of that shame that I couldn't make sense of, that they didn't lean, they leaned in, right? And they leaned in still with love.
Do you remember a moment where that corner was being turned, when that reframing started to happen, that maturity, that shift started to happen? What was that experience like?
I think it may have really been college, because that I felt like was the first time, like, it's not that that was my first awakening of being around many different backgrounds, experiences, et cetera, but being away from home. I want to learn about your rituals and, oh, that's different from ours. And I wouldn't do it that way, but that makes sense why you do it that way. Or I just want, like, I want to learn. There's so much to learn. There's so much beauty out there. And I think if I was already appreciating the love and joy that existed in our household, it's like, ooh, like there's layers to this that I'm still unpacking to this very day. And so I don't know if there was like one moment versus a series. I call it the micro moments. It's like the first moment when I went to school and I was with people who weren't just Black. And the first moment that I went, to high school and I had to venture away and do something different than what all of my friends in the neighborhood were doing. And the first moment that I went to a school, and it was a school that was isolated and not in the city, even though I grew up in the city. And like all of these the first moment that like I made a real connection with someone who was so uniquely different from me that I would have never thought could be like my mama bear or a village member of it's like all these little micro moments I think have helped me understand the beauty of what my parents, who they are, what they were trying to do.
What do you feel life has designed you for?
Helping people see the best that they have to offer, the spaces that they're in. And that the best of what they have to offer combined with the best of what others have to offer together can actually produce something quite powerful. And I think I have the gift of being able to help ask a set of questions that mirror that over and over and over and over again.
So tell me more about the gift. The gift is asking quality questions.
It's the curiosity of relationships, right? It's like this. I think the gift is actually the belief systems that relationships are the unit of currency for how things get done in terms of like real transformative change.
Wait, say that again. Relationships are the unit of currency?
It's a unit of currency for how things move, how change happens. This is to the community feeling, right? Like being in community is transformative, is how, and I believe that about work, that work happens in community with people. And when things get stuck, if you look behind the corner, you're going to find people who can't figure out a way to use their differences for good, or who don't know how to work together collaboratively to design something that is better than their individual thoughts. It's a necessity for thriving and being prosperous, is that is the source.
How do you know that's true? What have you seen that tells you like, yes, it is relationships? Is it your father's funeral? Is it like, and that would be just a few months ago that you knew that. Like what are the moments that you knew that like, yeah, that's it. It is the relationships that make it all worthwhile.
I mean, to me, I'm like, it's all around us.
Yeah.
It's right. I'm going to think about all the different spaces I cohabitate. If I think about work and people that I work with, people that I support, people I don't support, but I hear about when I'm at the airport, because the airport on a Friday nights when I'm coming back and everybody's calling home or calling their friend and talking about this day and this work. It's like we spend our waking hours at work or some variation of being in community with people in some way. That's being in relationship with people. There's enough to me everywhere that signals when we are a community what happens. And I think there's enough in our world that tells us when we are not in community with one another how divisive we can be. And so I'm like, it's sure. Everywhere.
Well, I mean, that's why now we have a pandemic of loneliness. I mean, being aware of the greater value is not just the framing of money or like what, that language you speak or the accent you have or being like, it's something else. There are other things that are value. Questions, the question reframing. And like your question reframing on your one you got from your father and John and is like, what did I learn today? Or what am I most grateful for? What if you wake up every morning with what am I most grateful for? You're looking for that answer, right? Versus you wake up and go, oh shoot, I got to do all that today. Well, that answer, that statement is actually in response to a question, which is like, oh my God, what's all the bad stuff I got to do today?
Yes, absolutely. Other types of ways of expressing value, but that again, it's a frame. And so that's why I just so love about like, what's the question that you're asking yourself? Because I always tell people the behaviors we see are grounded in something. And oftentimes we don't stop to ask the question of, you're not just acting. There's a frame that's causing you to behave a certain way. And if you can
Totally.
switch the frame, you can also switch the behavior. And so I love what am I grateful for? How am I waking up? How am I closing my day? What's the question I'm asking myself to center myself so that I can choose how I'm going to step out into the world, how I'm going to be with people. There's power in that. And you do, to your point, you say seeing is believing. It's like there is power in seeing is believing. And there is power in manifestation, I believe. And just saying, like, even if I haven't seen it, I'm making it. I'm making it because a lot of dreams have been made off things that people never saw. Like, I never saw that. I don't know it to be true, but I claim it to be true, and I'm going to manifest that.
Absolutely. And it'll make it a better world. Like, for me, it's, one reason we have, I think some of the challenge we have in the workplace is because the question is, what's the ROI? How are we increasing shareholder value? And shareholder value is in the currency of money. What if you shifted the question is like, how are we making this so that it's better for our grandchildren? How do we make a organization so that our grandchildren speak with us with pride? The question is the answer. Or you could say the answer is the question. Like, I think we're all so focused on answers because we're trained that way, but all the power is in the question. So like, I feel like we shouldn't have a mission statement. We should have a mission question.
Oh, I love that.
Right? Because the mission, things might change, the environment might change. But if you have a question, you can have different answers every year, every quarter, every time something changes. Like, actually, now we could do it better. If you have a mission statement, you're kind of like closing down and you think this is a path. It's like, no. Like, why are we really here?
I'm going to quote you on that. I love that. I love that. And also the question, to me, the question is the pursuit of learning that I was talking about. Like, it's the pursuit of learning and it's the pursuit of relationships. Because if you can ask the question, and you have to be open to the fact that that question might lead you to different things, which is going to lead you to new learnings and new insights, one. And if you have the question, it opens you up enough to be in relationship with someone else, to not define them in a box, but to be curious about why they are doing certain things. What brings value to them? What have they learned in their life? What is their background experiences that lead them to today? Where might we have synergy? Where might we have tension? And might that tension actually be able to derive something beautiful? Like, the mere act of questioning one another actually helps us peel back layers so that we find commonality and so that we get to know each other much deeper than, quite honestly, the first thing that we see or comes out of our mouths.
Which is interesting because you felt that. What is the thing that is the hardest thing of developing your gift?
I would say prioritizing, learning and researching and getting good at it. Because when you have a gift, at least for myself, when I have the gift, I want to give the gift. And I get an adrenaline rush from finding that I can serve others and add value to them. It's like there's like this thing where it's just kind of like, yes, this gift serves someone else. Yes, like there was something I said or some activity or some experience or something that we did together that unlocked, it got you unstuck. And now look what you're able to do. And again, the spaciousness would say, yeah, you need that. But you also, the craft of the gift has to constantly be in motion, in practice. It requires your ongoing learning. And so if you say, like, what's the hardest part about developing? It's like the being in practice, the doing the very thing that I tell other people to do, to create the spaciousness to say, like, yep, I still got to be on my own learning tour. Yep, I still got to do that research work. And that takes time. And I cannot be seduced by the adrenaline rush of giving the gift away consistently.
Where does humility fit into that? Like the desire to like offer your gift and give it and you get the high off of that. But then like, because I'm seeing the humility in you, you know, I don't feel like the big ego flowing around.
I think there are two things that can coexist for me. One is because I have a learning orientation and a relationship stance orientation, I'm always going to be in the act of saying, like, what else? What should I learn? What do I make of that? How do I make sense of that? what was my contribution to this thing that didn't go so well? And the mere act of the question is an act of humility because it's an act of learning. Like the posture that I don't know everything, the posture that I might actually be wrong about something, the posture that there is someone else that I didn't think had anything to teach me could actually be the person who's going to transform me the most. Like there's an act of humility there. And I can balance that with feeling pride, confidence. I know a set of things that I can offer the world and I'm going to stand in my power. I am enough and that's got to be good enough. And whoever's going to be in my orbit has to like be able to see me and my value and my superpowers. For like those things can coexist, that I can like live in me and live fully in me. And living fully in me doesn't mean that there's not still more of me to be developed and to learn. We can live in confidence and learning.
My reaction is like, yes, absolutely. And I think for me, it's also a factor of time, maturity, because definitely in my 20s and 30s, man, ego was driving the boat, which is really for me like a lack of, like a not being enough. And like what you're saying now that I'm hearing is like this beautiful thing of like being in the fullness of your offering, of your gift, knowing it. It's kind of like what comes up for me and what you're saying is like this, there is a beautiful thing of like owning your gift, knowing you have it, knowing the spaces you want to inhabit and contribute to in service to others, right? But also being humble to know that you don't know everything, and also being humble to know that like you're also fallible, but just because you're humble doesn't mean you don't know who you are.
Yes.
I do think there's a benefit to being older and like kind of having more opportunities to fail and to grow and to learn and to see. And like, I would have loved to be there when I was 25, but I wasn't equipped for that. And I'm just wondering, do you think part of that being able to be humble and yet fully knowing who you are and knowing your gift and crafting your gift is a factor of time?
Yeah. I mean, I think certainly time, right? More at-bats, as I call it, being able to like live life and learn from life. But I do think it's possible to be it, like not to have had as much time from a like age standpoint, if we're using time in that way, that we've actually had a lot of like, there's a lot of people who've lived a lot of life.
Yeah. Sure.
Right. So
maybe
they've had a lot of experiences that have led to a set of learnings, you know, even way earlier in life. And so to me, it's a combination of how many at-bats and how many swings and how many experiences and how much exposure and how much learning, like that cycle over and over and over. How many times are you willing to go through the cycle of, what did I get from that? What did I learn from that? What am I going to do about that? How do I make sense of that? How do I see myself in relation to other people? How do you make sense of it is just as important.
Thank you for your time. I know we're running up, and you're really gracious with all your sharing and your honesty and your time. But like, I really just want to appreciate you for really being honest and really kind of like being present and jump into this conversation with me. You know, it's not a small ask. So thank you.
Well, thank you for having me. Thank you for creating the space for my learning.
I want to thank you for joining me in this conversation. I hope it had some utility. I hope it offered a reflection of what maybe life is shaping you for, and maybe it offered a missing piece to the puzzle of your life. It was a pleasure for me, and I appreciate your time and attention. Please subscribe to our channel so that you can stay abreast of all the new episodes we have coming out. And until next time, thank you so much. Guts is a Skin Deep media production. The show is produced and edited by Gonzalo Torres Ocampo, with editorial support from Anthony Cabral, and executive produced by me, Topaz Adizes. Special thanks to all the guests who showed guts, without whom there will be no getting under the skin. Interested in joining our community and following this journey? Visit guts.podcast on YouTube, Instagram, and theskindeep.com for in-depth conversation card games that create the space for connection, intimacy, and deeper conversation.